Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Janet Oliver. I work for Untitled Natural Gas, and I'm chair of the board of directors this year. It's been a couple of years since we've been able to bring this informative program due to the pandemic. Our thanks to the city for helping us prepare today's event. We're looking forward to hearing about our city from the presenters participating today. We have a few announcements to make. The Chamber will present a Seacoast Area Job Fair on Wednesday, October 12th at the James Foley Memorial Community Center in Rochester. Employers are invited to participate and meet potential candidates for existing or future job openings. There's no charge to participate. Our next business after hours will be hosted by First Seacoast Bank and will be held at the Rochester Performance and Arts Center on Thursday, October 20th from 5:30 to 7. Information flyers for these events are available at the registration table. We also have our new community guides available this morning. Please feel free to take one from the registration table. Our generous underwriter for this morning's program is Eversource. We're pleased to have Brian Dickey from Eversource with us. Say hello, Brian. We would also like to thank Frisbee Memorial Hospital for hosting today's forum, and thanks to the staff of Unidyne for the fantastic breakfast provided this morning. We're pleased to have a number of representatives from the city here today to provide us each year with a report on the Rochester along with a forecast for the coming year. I'll be introducing the first speaker from the city, and then each will introduce the next presenter. Our first presenter from the city is Rochester Mayor Paul Callahan. Our mayor is a native of Rochester and a graduate of the University of New Hampshire with a master's in public administration. Paul served our community in the Rochester Police Department for nearly 25 years. After leaving there, he went to become the police chief for the town of Kittery. Currently, he is a lieutenant prosecutor for the Stratford County Sheriff's Office. In addition to his leadership in public safety, Paul has provided leadership to his community, including chair of the Rochester Main Street Board of Directors, chair of the school board for St. Thomas Aquinas High School, and more. He has received several honors and leadership awards over the years for his exemplary service, both in his profession and his community. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Mayor Paul Callahan, who will provide us with a report on the city of Rochester.
Thank you. Good morning. It's certainly a pleasure to be up here today. And again, I want to thank the Rochester Chamber for putting on this event. And I want to thank Frisbee Hospital for hosting this event. And thank you for Eversource for sponsoring it. And just a quick little note on Frisbee. I think it's so important that we have a community hospital here in Rochester, not just for the obvious economic benefits of it, but when you connect to your physician or nurse or healthcare professional in your community, it makes you feel more confident and safer in having that relationship. So I'm glad that HCA has taken over Frisbee and they're really moving forward. I know Tim will speak on that a little later when he gets here. So first of all, I got to tell you, I've been mayor for about a year. I can't believe how fast it's gone, but it's been an absolute blast. And the reason it's been so enjoyable is the workers in the city of Rochester. Many of you are here today, teachers and municipal workers, and really top-notch, have the best for the residents in mind when you make your decisions. And I'm so proud to have a part in that. And also, let you know the city is, you'll hear more about this too, how great financially stable the city is. And again, the great leadership that we have in Blaine Cox, our city manager, and also our leadership team. When I ran for mayor, I ran on a platform of continuing our downtown revitalization, enhance our economic development, support our emergency services while keeping our taxes low. We'll talk first about our downtown development. Every great city needs a vibrant downtown, and we got one now. I heard when I was running for mayor, and I've heard early in this term, that, hey, Rochester is a city that is ready to take off. You'll see today that Rochester has already launched off the launching pad. We're there. Just look at our housing development that's downtown. Chinburg built 51 units downtown. Those things were fully leased before he opened. We have the Hoffman building that was torn down, the Slims building that was torn down. Those are going to be 45 units, 39 which will be 2 bedrooms, and 9 which will be single, all market rate. Beautiful facility at 51 units behind St. Elizabeth Seton School along the river that Steve Miller is building. And there's going to be a beautiful residential development that's going to take place soon on Hanson Street. And also, you can't forget the arts. Look at the arts that are downtown and the entertainment that's downtown. Just recently, you'll probably see that through Main Street, partnership with Main Street, we're able to put these real old-time pictures, old postcards of Rochester through the Historical Society, and they use this high-tech fabric that were melted on the buildings downtown. So if you're ever in Shaw Park, that's the municipal park between the fire station and City Hall. Take a look at those beautiful old postcards that are up there on the walls as murals now. It looks great. Economic development plays a critical role in the growth of our city. Creates jobs. We have industry diversification, business retention and expansion, increased tax revenue, improves quality of life, and also supports our workforce. As a city council, we created, through the waste management host fees, a $1.5 million economic reserve fund to help enhance our economic development. You see some great facilities that have come into Rochester in the past year. LDI, the expansion of the Ridge that you just heard about, and Sig Sauer. Sig is up on the Milton Road, if you didn't know that, where the old Stonewall Kitchen was. They have created over 300 jobs already right now. They've invested over $20 million in that facility. And the equipment, the robotic equipment they have in there, they've invested over $75 million. But I mentioned support of the workforce. We need to support our workforce. When we met with the manufacturing and business leaders, we held 2 sessions this spring and early summer. We heard from them. They need more workers. And one of the common themes, was that we need quality childcare. So I'm pleased to announce that through the City of Rochester, we set aside $1 million in federal recovery funds to invest in affordable, quality childcare for our workforce. Emergency services is the most essential responsibility of government safety. For the police department, they have a great part-time juvenile diversion program. We increased that to full-time. Why do we do that? Just look at the epidemic that we had, the pandemic that we had, the issues that our young teenagers are facing, and also the opioid crisis. A lot of these kids are living in households where 1 or 2 parents are addicted to these drugs. They need help. They don't need it. So our diversion program has been very successful. Of course, as you know, I've come through the police department. I know for a fact that there's police officers on our police force, there's teachers in our teaching system, and there's nurses and healthcare workers in the healthcare force that came through our diversion program. It's been very successful. We also came up with a community outreach facilitator outreach position. This position will work closely with our police to connect residents who are suffering from mental health or substance abuse disorders with the treatment services that they help. You can't just throw these people in jail. It doesn't help rehabilitate them. We need to give them the services that they need to help them to be quality members in our community. Now, over to the fire department. We invested in advanced life-saving equipment and training. We've seen from our fire department sometimes is the first responders to serious medical calls. They're going to have the ability to give life-saving drugs within seconds. And as you know, seconds saves lives. And also by having this training in this equipment, we see that it'll reduce the permanent injuries that these patients will face, and it's going to reduce their time in a hospital, which reduces our insurance rates. Now, to wrap this up, you got to have 2 things. One thing is, I talked about these programs that we just started. Our budget was $2.1 million under the tax cap. Let me say that again. $2.1 million under the tax cap. You can go through all our budgets that since we had a tax cap, it won't even equal that. That just lets you know how financially stable the city of Rochester is. And to wrap this up, a city needs to have some fun, and I'm so thrilled to bring back the Lilac City Fun Fest, and I'll leave that on that. Thank you very much. Now I'll turn it over to our City Manager, Blaine Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So good morning. Thank you for joining us to hear a report on the state of our city. We've changed the format from the last time I was here in 2019, delivering a report on the state of the city. In addition to remarks from the mayor and me, several department heads will report directly to you on the state of our city from their functional areas of responsibility. I am certain you will enjoy seeing some new faces, and I hope you will make some new connections with our leadership team here in the city. I'm going to start out by talking about a little bit about the council manager form of government. I often encounter citizens that do not understand how Rochester's government is structured. This can make it difficult for them to navigate how they connect for services and to provide us with public input. In the coming months, in an effort to foster greater transparency and accessibility into Rochester's municipal government, we plan to launch a new initiative called Civics 101. Look for details to be released in the coming weeks. Today, I would like to give you a very high-level overview to get this process started. Rochester has what is called a council manager form of municipal government. The mayor and the city council are the legislative body, as well as the policy-setting body for the city. The mayor and council are elected by the voters. As the legislative body, the city council approves the annual budget, adopts municipal-level laws and regulations, and the city council also acts as the community's overall policy makers. The city manager is appointed by the city council. As the city manager, I create a proposed budget for the city council's consideration. I appoint the city staff that provide the services to our residents, and I carry out the policies set by the city council. As I already mentioned, in the coming months, we plan to launch a new initiative called Civics 101. Please look for details, and we hope you engage with that presentation. So COVID-19, since this is the first state of the city since the pandemic, I want to touch upon the pandemic and the city's response. As you know, the state went through stay at home, then stay at home 2.0, and then safer at home. Here in the city, we went through 4 operational phases. First, determining what we were facing and what it meant for the city and our various partners. Second, pivoting to a remote working and remote service model. Third, preparing for and executing on the new normal. And fourth, adjusting to life under the new normal for both our residents as well as our staff. Our efforts were very deliberate and focused. Some highlights. We stood up an emergency operations center in the annex. We focused upon outreach to assisted living facilities, restaurants, grocery stores, and other community partners. We set up a temporary dispatch center at the Granite Fire Station. We partnered with Dover and Somersworth to create the Willand Warming Center for our homeless population. We eliminated some fees and charges and delayed deadlines. We created a microloan program for our small businesses. We focused upon how we would continue to offer city services and still meet CDC guidelines, while simultaneously keeping our staff and citizens safe. We navigated outdoor dining. We utilized technology to conduct building and licensing inspections using remote technology. And we reassigned staff to other functions and duties if they were unable to carry out their normal duties. Public meetings went to remote Zoom-type meetings, including the City Council. Our schools went to remote learning. Our police, water, and sewer divisions went to alternating shifts to ensure an exposure would not completely cause the suspension of these vital services. There are many more examples, too numerous to mention here today. I am personally humbled and made proud by the efforts and care and concern of city personnel during this challenging period. So to all city staff, I simply want to say thank you. So city staff, now who is here and who is not today? Today you will be hearing from key city personnel representing finance, public works, the schools, economic development, planning and development, public relations, community engagement, fire, police, recreation, and our public library. These representatives will share with you the tremendous progress we are making as a city and the exciting future before us. However, there are several other city departments we should not forget, such as building and licensing services, tax collector, assessing, the city clerk, human resources, IT, and welfare. These offices play just as important a role in providing the city services our citizens need and rely upon as the departments represented here today. So, moving to Rochester today. When I appeared in this forum in 2019, I made reference to then recent observations made regarding our city, such as New Hampshire Magazine describing Rochester as being a city on the rise. The theme of my remarks back then I dubbed Reaching Higher. I talked about strategic self-investment made by the City Council to spur downtown development. Specific to city staff, I talked about real culture change, real process changes, and enhanced productivity. All these factors have continued and in some areas intensified. We are still strong and getting stronger every day. Before I turn the floor over to other city representatives, let me put our current state into a broad perspective. I have shared frequently with others that Rochester's strength and success are based upon 4 pillars. First, regional and city-specific economics. Second, Rochester's financial health as a municipality. Third, a governing body willing to invest in the city's infrastructure and development. And fourth, the expertise and initiative of city staff. Other city representatives will share specifics on regional and city economics and continued strong development projects. Suffice it to say that we are still very much a city on the rise. As for the city's fiscal strength, over the last 10 years, the city of Rochester has maintained its sound fiscal strength, while at the same time augmenting overall city services without significant increases in property taxes. This is evidenced by our annual budget development processes, strong bond ratings, and clean annual independent audits. You'll hear more about our financial strength later in today's presentation from Deputy City Manager Katie Ambrose. The City Council has continued to invest in the city's infrastructure and supported an aggressive economic development program. Finally, we have a strong city staff I would put up against any municipal workforce in the state. We have high levels of productivity, and the city is a place where people feel their work is rewarding and they are excited to come to work. Just a couple comments regarding transparency and accessibility of city government. The City of Rochester encourages public input and meaningful engagement with our residents. We have found that when we invite people to voice their ideas and concerns, it creates a more cooperative environment between citizens and the government, and it results in better government. Transparency in government ensures that residents and business owners have access to as much information as possible. In an effort to promote greater transparency and accessibility into Rochester city government, we created a separate section of the city's webpage entitled Get Involved. Here you will find a wide variety of ways to provide public input, join a board or commission, and stay in the know regarding various efforts and initiatives occurring around Rochester. You will hear more on this from our Public Information and Community Engagement Manager, Matt Wyatt, later in the presentation. At this point, I will turn the presentation over to Deputy City Manager and Finance Director, Katie Ambrose. Katie?
Good morning. I was hired in July 2019 after the State of the City that year, so I'm very excited to be here for my very first State of the City. As Rochester's Deputy City Manager and Finance Director, I'll be focusing on the state of the city's budget and financial health and what that means for the future. As the City Manager has shared, financial health continues to be a pillar of Rochester's strength and success. Through the past decade, Rochester has maintained strong fiscal health while supporting the community's growth and mitigating property tax impact. The other 3 pillars of strength, which again are a mayor and city council willing to invest in the city's infrastructure and development, the expertise and initiative of city staff, regional and city economics, all also contribute to our strong financial position and have promoted growth within the community. This growth and success can be observed in the city's budget, multiple financial indicators, the city's asset base, as well as strategic and creative financial planning. These indicators continue to demonstrate each year, and even through and in spite of the pandemic, that Rochester is strong and growing. Independent auditors' reports, strong bond ratings, and a healthy fund balance all clearly demonstrate Rochester's fiscal strength. Since the last State of the City, Rochester's independent auditors' reports received unmodified opinions as we have in years past. This means that Rochester's financial statements are presented fairly and with no material misstatements. When Rochester last received bond ratings in 2020, the city maintained its ratings of AA3 from Moody's and AA stable from Standard & Poor's. These ratings reflect a solid financial position, a strong local economy, and a healthy fund balance. The city's unassigned fund balance has been consistently strong over the years, and this is due in part to healthy non-property tax revenues and City Council's responsible and strategic use of fund balance. An example of this strategic utilization of unassigned fund balance has been to convert bonded projects to cash, thus avoiding additional bonded debt and saving the city significant dollars in interest. City Council has also worked this past year to establish 3 new capital reserve funds funded by unassigned fund balance. These new funds will serve as tools to help stabilize the tax rate in future years as funding is needed for qualifying capital infrastructure. Rochester currently has over $531 million in assets to manage and maintain, which requires ongoing investment and demonstrates that we are a growing city with a large amount of infrastructure. The mayor and city council's focus on creative and strategic financial planning will continue to support this infrastructure and growth for years to come, while also mitigating tax impact and maintaining a healthy fund balance. The budget process also reflects the City of Rochester's ongoing commitment to fiscal health and continued growth. The city's current fiscal year 2023 operating budget, as the mayor mentioned, but it's worth reiterating again, is $2.1 million below the tax cap. Some of the additional services funded in this tax cap compliant budget include advanced life support equipment in the fire department, additional positions in the police department and public works, and an outdoor skating rink for the common. Rochester's growth is demonstrated in this budget, not just in expenses to meet growing service needs, but also in very strong non-property tax revenues, such as motor vehicle registrations, waste management host community fees, and building permits. Collected and projected revenues demonstrate that significant new construction is occurring in the community. Host community fee revenues are increasing as designed in the agreement with waste management, and Rochester residents are purchasing more vehicles and more expensive vehicles than years past. Other non-property tax revenues have also supported this year's budget, such as additional state aid for both the city and school. Smart financial planning has been important in stabilizing the tax rate and maximizing the utilization of short-term additional aid. Another example of this, as the mayor mentioned some specific projects that they've put to work, would be the significant amount of funding that the city received through the 2021 American Rescue Plan Act. City Council has been working carefully to leverage the $6.1 million received for significant impact in the city that's within the Treasury's guidelines. To date, these funds have been designated to establish impactful new programs, support employee recruitment and retention, replace revenues lost due to COVID-19, and expand and replace vital infrastructure. The city has until 2024 to allocate the remaining funds, which City Council will continue to address in a thoughtful and strategic manner. In closing, Rochester is a growing city that is financially strong. Strategic investments and financial planning will continue to promote future financial strength and support the city's growth without significantly increasing property taxes. The state of the city is strong and its future is bright. I'll now turn it over to Director of City Services, Peter Norse.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter Norse, and I have the privilege of serving as your Director of City Services. Thanks for having me. I thought this would be a great opportunity to give you all a glimpse of what we do in Public Works. I'm not a big talker, but I can probably go on for 1 or 2 hours just to hit the tip of the iceberg. but I have 7 minutes with you. If I go a second over, Matt's going to give me the cane. So hang on, here we go. So what do we do in Public Works? We, every day we do 10,000 tasks, okay? Much of it you don't see. If I was to ask what we provide, we strive to provide quality of life in the city. And these are some recent photos that you can see that kind of encapsulate some of what we do. You may see people there in the drinking water lab, ensuring that we have the finest quality drinking water in the state. You see that we maintain and plow about 150 miles of city roads. There's folks down there in the wastewater lab making sure our waste streams comply with very stringent EPA standards every day. You know, we're paving, we're putting in drainage, our utility crews are repairing emergency water main breaks, scoping sewer lines. We're doing hydrant flushing right now. And our buildings and grounds crews, they're responsible to maintain about 500,000 square feet of city buildings and about 50 acres of landscaping. So this is not everybody. It's just, you know, it's busy enough as it is. But Matt, could we advance, please? This is a great opportunity to invite you all to our new Public Works facility at 209 Chestnut Hill Road. Just completed $20 million facility, state-of-the-art, 55,000 square feet. I wanted to make sure that we use the best construction materials and practices in that, because a municipality has a chance about every 75 years to do this, and we should do it right. And the most important thing I will say today is I want to thank the taxpayers, the ratepayers, and the city council for this facility, because it is a major infrastructure project, and they had the foresight to see into the future, to see what we needed as a growing community. So please come by anytime during working hours. I welcome you. I'll give you a tour of the facility. You can see how we've invested those valuable funds. We have a number of staff who are qualified to bring you through, so I welcome you to come through. Please do. Matt? This is our drinking water facility out on Stratford Road, and you can see Rochester Reservoir on the top, Round Pond Reservoir in Barrington on the bottom, and the treatment facility is right at the corner of the Rochester Reservoir. There's a close-up of it. We process and treat about 2 million gallons a day on average, and we have a 16,000-acre watershed. It's a pristine watershed that covers parts of Farmington, Barrington, Stratford, and there's a cascading series of reservoirs from Blue Job all the way down that provide a real generous, excellent raw water quality we can treat. And so when other communities feel pinches and droughts, we don't typically feel that here. So we're very blessed with that watershed. Much of it is preserved. The well down below is off of Route 11 at the old Henderson farm, and we can harvest about 1 million gallons a day from that. Next slide, please. This is our wastewater facility off of Pickering Road, aerated lagoon system, and this processes about 3 million gallons a day we treat. And we make about 2 million gallons of water, and we treat about 3 million gallons of sewer, and I'll address that in a minute. And by the way, both of those facilities are open for tours as well. Just give me a call or call those. They're show places, really. They're among the finest in the state. They're operated very well. They're maintained well. They have that spit shine sort of appearance. Please go through and learn where your drinking water comes from, or you know, where our wastewater, how it's processed, so forth. This is our organizational chart. I know you can't read it. I just want to show it to you because it is busy. It does show we have 7 functional areas and about 75 employees. There's a new structure here that we've highlighted, which is there's 2 deputy directors now. We never had a deputy director or an assistant director. We were always the largest department, but never had that. I have a military background, and I know that command and control in the service it's one thing they do very, very well, amongst others. And this is an organization with the resources and the personnel size where that will work really well. So a lot of folks doing good things every day. Next slide, please. So what are we looking at here, Matt? This is a project, a very big project. I have a disadvantage. I can't really see the screen here, so I'm kind of winging this. So this should be the Route 120, Route 202A water main extension project. It is. I'm sorry, the red highlighting is not showing up for me. Anyway, this is a major project that's ongoing right now. This is a $13.5 million project to bring drinking water, public water, up from Washington Street through Highfields Commons, cross-country over to Route 202A and heading west. It'll bring drinking water to upwards of 160 households. Many of those households have well water that's contaminated, some with MTBE, some with other not so good things. About 2/3 of the project's being funded by the Drinking Water Trust Fund and by the MTBE Bureau. So as we're putting in water, we're connecting folks, and I believe we're going to have a ceremonial first pour, perhaps as early as next month, for the first water delivered out there. This will be a 2-year project to get all the way out to Crown Point area where there's some MTBE contaminated wells out there. So ongoing, going very well. More to follow on that. This is Round Pond Reservoir, and this has been in the background for a number of years, but this is about a 300 million gallon reservoir. It's about 100 acres. It's our biggest reservoir. We fill that reservoir with water coming out of the Berries River, and DES told us a number of years ago, you've got to limit what you pull out of that river for its ecological health. So that's a constraint that we have. The other constraint we have is that with our anticipated growth, in about 10 years or so, we're going to be challenged with providing enough drinking water. So for a number of years now, for the better part of a decade, we've been looking at raising the operational level of that reservoir. And you can see, it may be blocked out, but there's a couple of dams we'd have to construct out there. We've done extensive environmental research out there, and there'll be extensive permitting. We're now working with abutters who are waterfront abutters on that because there will be some impacts to their property. The city council's given us some latitude to negotiate with them. So this is Colonial Pines Sewering Project, and this is a massive sewer project to bring public sewer to the Colonial Pines area, serving about 250 homes that have problematic septic systems. We're in phase 3 right now, which is the yellow, and phase 4 will be the final, that'll be the green, and that would wrap up sometime in 2024. Next, please. This is very much in the background. Most people don't understand this, but these are sewer pipes, and what you see there is clean water entering those pipes. On the left, it's from infiltration. Those are old, aged pipes that are cracked, bad joints, and groundwater's getting in. On the right is inflow. That's some pumps pumping up into the sewer pipes. It could be foundation drains, roof drains, and that's illegal, but it happens all over. So what happens with this clean water getting into the sewer pipes is taking out capacity in that sewer pipe, so we can't grow our sewer system. The other side of that is that we're spending probably hundreds of thousands every year in chemical and electrical costs treating clean water. It's a big deal, but very much in the background to most folks. So we've started about a decade-long program to prioritize and identify areas of the city with I&I. It's what's called I&I, infiltration, inflow, and to knock it out by replacing those lines and by providing new dedicated drainage laterals for some pumps. So we'll skip that one. And so why do we spend millions of dollars underground that you don't see? Well, here's a prime example. These are water pipes. They're cast iron. They're out of the Woodman Myrtle project, which is currently under construction. They're from 1922. This is tuberculation, is what you see there. Now, don't get alarmed. It's not a health issue. This is common in all kinds of old infrastructure all over the state in New England. Typically, tuberculation, if it does manifest itself, will be taste and odor issues, but not health issues. We do thousands of tests every year in our distribution system and at our plant, but who wants to drink out of that? So, we will take that old pipe, we'll replace it with plastic pipe that'll last 100+ years, or ductile line pipe, which will last close to that. So that's why we invest in the ground. That's what we're looking at all the time. You can skip that one. No, go back. Go back. I've got to own up here. I did put this in the presentation, but I think I'm running over. You all know what this is. I just want to say I appreciate your patience, and we just awarded the final phase of this project, which is the roadway, the building of the roundabout, and the undergrounding of the overhead utilities. Very long project. I realize there's about $2 million of federal funding coming to the city to make this happen, and therefore we're on a timeline that is not optimal for us. I wanted to highlight Route 11. We're doing both safety and capacity improvements out there with DOT. These projects are in the 10-year plan. They're about $5 million. And we will see them happen in construction about the midpoint of this decade towards the end. We've been making a lot of noise about this myself, local officials, businesses. We finally got these two projects prioritized in the 10-year plan. One is to put a signal at Neshoba Drive and a sidewalk all the way down North Main, contiguous. That's what you see there. The next one is a capacity increase. I guess we don't have a slide for that, but the capacity increase would be to provide 2 travel lanes in each direction from the interchange at exit 15 north to phase 2 of Granite Ridge. So making that happen as quickly as we can. This is the Union Street parking lot project, and if you've been up to City Hall, you'll see there was an easel there, and we're sort of soliciting input from the public on that, what's important to them. We want this to be a showpiece. It's a multi-departmental concept here, and I think this is the latest concept. We can't put a lot more spaces in than what's already there, but we can make it a greener, more aesthetic type of setting, more pleasant, and we can also get some stormwater credits out of that as well. I think that's it for slides, Matt. I just want to say that in closing that I have broad latitude, I have good resources, I have minimal micromanagement. I'm very appreciative of that, but even more so, I work with great people. And if it sounds like I'm bragging, it's really the staff that I get to work with that makes this happen for all of us. So there's more I want to say, but you know, if you have questions, please see me. There's so much more I could explain on some of these things. Just give me a call, come down, take a tour. Thank you. I think our superintendent of schools is next. Kyle Rapucci. Kyle.
Good morning, everyone. Matt, I'll give you the tug of an ear here. So this is my 7th year in the city, and about 6 years ago, our 5-year strategic committee met to realign our mission and vision of our schools. You can see the red highlighted words there, personalized learning. Gone are the days when we were all in school and everyone had 10 minutes of reading with the teacher or 20 minutes with the teacher, regardless of what group you were in, the Robins, Blue Jays, right? Gone are those days. It's personalized learning. It's using data to inform our decisions and our teaching and learning practice. We have 11 schools in our district, and all schools conform to this paradigm shift. As you can see, personalized learning is the foundation, and then we have competency-based education, work skill competencies, and then multi-tiered systems of support, all leading to student success, which we all want in a thriving community, to have people that are competent and good workers and good learners in the future. Next slide. So here you can see our core 4 of personalized learning. So normally what you'll see in a classroom is at least 2 of these models integrated together. So for instance, data-driven decision and targeted instruction. As a teacher, I may give a formative assessment at the end of a lesson as students are leaving, an exit ticket perhaps. And going home that night, I correct that exit ticket and I form my groups for the day tomorrow, right? This group got it, they're ready to move on. This group needs more help. They're gonna start with me tomorrow in targeted instruction so I don't have them lagging behind as we continue in the learning process. Next slide, please. Again, competency-based education is something that's been going on in our district for about 10 years now. It is a minimum standard of our state education model, so it's not a choice. But one of the things that you can see if you take a second to glance at these, and I know they'll be available probably on the city's website, personalized learning is integrated in all of these things. So again, relevant assessments where choice is given. At the high school and all of our schools, you'll see performance assessments where there's multiple solutions to a problem. Students are asked to design projects to solve solutions. And again, having more than one right answer, but getting feedback on the content and skills needed to solve that problem. One of the things that our high school started with and then it's pushed down is work skills competencies. In the business world, those are soft skills, right? So we need people that know content, but have the skills to manage those conceptual pieces during different projects. So self-direction, collaboration, right, are instrumental in our work at schools. One of the things that you'll see with collaboration in a classroom is what that looks like. So for instance, in a second grade classroom, the teacher will model what a group work, effective group work looks like. When students are given feedback, they're not just given feedback on, let's say, the math that they did, but also how they collaborated in that group to achieve that goal. So again, when we were in school, some of those things were concepts or comments on our report cards, but we want students to understand that these skills are needed in order to apply the content and standards that we want them to know and be able to do. And it's integral that both of them work in tandem. Next slide. This is our district-wide expectations for MTSS. So multi-tiered systems of support is a basic acronym, MTSS abbreviation, for both academic and behavioral expectations. And any time in anyone's day, you may be struggling with your academic progress or your behavioral progress. And we have multi-tiered systems of support to do that. And we'll go back to these examples over the course of a day to remind students where they should be or ask them where they are. Again, in the previous slide with personalized learning, you saw self-reflection. Self-reflection is a huge part of our teaching paradigm, where we ask students to place themselves on a continuum and then reflect on what they need to do differently to get a different product. Obviously, all of us have gone through struggles in our lives, and you kind of realize what worked and what didn't work. Successful people don't repeat the things that don't work, right? They self-adjust and they modify over time. And those are the skills we're teaching our students to have. This is, again, a fun little slide that starts in elementary school. And for those of you that have seen this movie, again, all of these feelings and emotions. So when students talk about where they are in their zones of regulation, they can tell their teacher, behaviorally, maybe I'm not ready right now, I'm frustrated. So they can self-identify, and that they might need to do a walk, talk, regulate with a guidance counselor. Or this is also used when we do assessments. So in that example I used before, where in an elementary school, there are 4 bins. And if I'm the student that was in that group in the middle, I take my work and I put it in the red bin. That tells my teacher, I don't really know what I was doing. And oftentimes, students are their best assessors, right? So the teacher starts with the red bins and moves to green. Now again, sometimes the green go into the red because I have a self-inflated concept of myself perhaps, but those are the things that teachers learn, right, over time when they form those very important relationships in our schools, which is another tenet of our schools. One of the nice things that I wanted to showcase when I was invited here today was what's new in our schools. The bedrock of any good organization is communication, in my opinion. We've worked to develop a district-wide app that encapsulates all of our schools so that school to home and home to school communication is very, very easy. So with the click of, say, 2 clicks on this app, you could call or email me. You could call or email our high school principals in the back. So all of the things that we do in our schools is housed here in our app. Next slide. We also wanted to highlight that, again, funding is a difficult thing for schools, and we know that. We appreciate the city's support. But if you ever want to do some really crazy research how our public schools are funded in the state of New Hampshire. And one of the biggest component is free and reduced rates. So every year our forms go home for free and reduced meals. Oftentimes those don't come back. And then we're penalized financially for those things. So one of the things our school board asked me to figure out is how can we digitize that application so that parents have the option of doing it in paper or electronically. So now I'm happy to say that we have that, and hopefully we'll see those numbers climb so that we can support our schools to the level of funding that they need to be. I wanted to close in that the first slide I had was a little pyramid with foundational support leading to success. And all of our teachers have a path or have a moment in time with students in 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And when they leave us, they're on a path hopefully to success. Our high school talks about high school pathways beyond the school. And we want every student to leave, whether they're going to college or career or military, to have a plan. So our high school principal oftentimes talks to students like, what's your plan? It's not too early to have a plan. And before a student leaves, we want to know what that plan is. And hopefully, Matt, are we able to show the video? Our CTE school and our ELO director, who's here in extended learning, cooperate, have great pathway.
State-of-the-art facilities and cutting-edge technology.
It's on YouTube today. Yeah. So I'll send the link to all of you as soon as we get done. But in the video, you can see all the various departments in the CTE Center. These kids are doing some amazing work. I got to see this up close to make this video. You have photography. These kids are out in the field, nursing, engineering, building, graphic design, photography. It's really incredible some of the results. You see them building here, and of course the child care early learning center. These kids are flying drones, fixing cars, doing a state-of-the-art center. It's incredible. If you get a chance to check it out, I encourage you to do so.
You saw the programs that are housed here, and we're actually very fortunate to be part of a Tri-City agreement. So our students have access to nearly 40 programs between Rochester, Dover, and Somersworth. And we take great pride in making sure those relationships exist in all of those communities. So if you want to get involved in our schools, each of those programs has an executive board that meets to talk about curriculum and equipment that they may need to integrate so that students entering the workforce have that experience that they need to be successful in your environment. So again, we welcome you all to get involved in our schools, and I thank you for your time. I'm not sure who's up next, Matt. Oh, here we go, Mr. Scala.
Thanks, Kyle. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for essentially doing my entire presentation. Thank you, Mayor Callahan. So I've got two things to talk about, and I'll be done. So just kidding. Yeah, so it's been a while since, in fact, I've never been involved in a State of the City. I came on, just like Katie, about 3 years ago. And we've had so much happen in the 3 years. I mean, both, internally and just driving down the street, you can see it. So I'm going to hit the downtown first, since that was kind of my mandate when I was hired, was redevelop the downtown. And so that's what we've been focusing on, myself and my team and the whole entire city staff. There's very little happening downtown that everyone doesn't agree on. So, first off, the mayor mentioned the Scenic Salinger project. That was something that started back in 2017, 2018 when the city acquired those two buildings. And we were able to work with Eric Chimberg and his group to create, 50 new market rate units over there. A lot, I forgot what the exact number is, but there's, I think, 35 to 40 new units, and the rest are like historic renovation units, but it's a beautiful building. And it opened at 100%. The last units they rented were like the studios, just the smaller units. The ones they rented the first were the big 2-bedroom ones. So it gave us a nice sort of, it was a nice litmus test for what the demand was in the city. Up there on the right, you see that's the proposed 38 Hanson project from the developer wants to do 20 market rate units there, plus a couple of commercials. Chimberg has a couple of commercials. The one down on the lower left, that's we call it the Hoffman. It won't be called that because Hoffman was a furniture store, but we call it 55 North is what I call it. But that's the 6-story, 45 units, 1 to 2 commercial. It's going to be amazing. It'll be the building that others will use when they design. It'll be that impactful down there, and that's should be done sometime in 2024 is what I believe. The middle rendering is kind of a mock-up of Water Street. Water Street is kind of a series of right-of-ways behind the Chimberg building that parallels Main Street. It's not a city street, but the city does have some of the right-of-ways, and there's a few other owners that have rights-of-way. But the redevelopment of that to connect downtown with the Wyandotte area with across the river, the mayor mentioned the Founds Mill project, the Steve Miller project, that's amazing. you know, it's just, it's a natural sort of connection. And, oh, this is, did I give you the signal? Did I? Oh, okay. I was looking for the hook, but it's, yeah, so this is just a time lapse we did of the Scenic Salinger build. And we couldn't put, I wanted to put it on the Wyandotte, like aiming backwards to it, but it wasn't safe up there, so we had to put it in one of our light posts next to it. So but it's pretty interesting, and I can't even imagine, I can't even remember this. It's been so amazing. And then it goes through, and it's not long. But then we panned it back a little bit just to see some of the construction. But yeah, so it's fully occupied, and you know, from what I gather, everyone's enjoying their time downtown. Because I see it. I live downtown, and I see the increase in foot traffic. I see people out and about on the weekends or going out. We also have another kind of a dramatization of what the Water Street would look like. You know, just this came from Elan Design out of New York, and they sent me the top-down view, and they say, we can do that in a 3D flyover if you want. And I said, oh yeah. So I think it's pretty cool, but it kind of gives you an idea of what we're thinking for the Water Street area, kind of a pedestrian / vehicular, you know, there'll be green space and walking and just beautification on that. So we've also worked on our wayfinding. You know, you've seen the signage around town. We've had 3 phases to include the sign out on 16, the Foley Center signage, the kayak launch, all around the city, and the other departments are adopting that kind of standard in the colors, the design, the Choose Rochester logo, and all that. So that's been very successful, and we're going to continue with that in phase 4, kind of filling in some of the gaps. Also downtown, there's been a lot with the arts, as far as, you know, we partner with the MFA and some of the other local, you know, sort of organizations, you know, the Riverwalk, Chamber, Main Street, and we all kind of were working towards the same thing, whether it's, you know, murals, whether it's sculpture, whether it's whatever beautification we can do, it's all part of it. Granite State Business Park, we've had, you know, 3 exciting buildings go up over the last couple of years. The one up top there, actually the one on the far left is LDI Solutions. Josh Dames here, he's the president of LDI, and that was a heavily involved city project where we partnered with the Business Finance Authority, the New Hampshire Business Finance Authority, REDC partnered with them, Rochester Economic Development Commission drove that initiative forward, partnered with BFA, the city guaranteed the loan, the occupants managed the build, and it came in under budget, under time, and then there was a 5-year note with a 5-year option, and within 2 years it got paid off. So I mean, it's like the most successful thing. It's like the BFA constantly calls me and say, do you have any more of those? Do you have any more of those? Because they love the project. We also have Pella Windows, which decided to put their district headquarters here, and Prep Partners, which is a logistics company that built a 150,000 square foot redistribution center. And these all, at one point, these were all being built at the same time. So I had John Geisis go over and get some photos of that, but which is pretty cool, but I like the finished ones better. But the overall benefit to the TIF, this is in a TIF district, was essentially it doubled the incremental value of the TIF. The TIF had $6-7 million in incremental value prior to these buildings. It now has over 13 million. So I mean, it just, with 3 buildings, we instantly increased the health of that TIF. And this was all done in part, because of the water loop that was created. Prior to me getting here, there was discussions on putting in a water loop because the current water wasn't able to supply the fire suppression for any additional growth. So we completed the water loop, and we were able to get these buildings. Okay, back. So the mayor mentioned SIG. They also worked with BFA, and they purchased the old Stonewall Kitchen facility down there in Ambrose. We toured there a little while ago, and they've got an amazing manufacturing facility there that's going to expand to the next building over. They just recently received a $4 billion government contract, and a lot of the new machine gun contract, a lot of those parts will be manufactured here in Rochester. Eventually, it's going to be built out to be a DoD secure facility. So we'll have a really impressive facility down there. They're not going to stay at 300 employees. They're going to go up. They've already said that it's probably going to be upwards of 500 or 600 eventually. So that's very exciting also. In the Ridge, Josh Levy was in giving he gave a presentation to the council last week on phase 2 of the Ridge. Phase 2 has gone through some changes. I mean, we were just about there, and then COVID came, and so they've had to rework a few things. We're all very hopeful we're going to get our theater. We really are. But it's since we've worked with staff and with developers to change or edit the ordinance to allow for residential at the Ridge, because retail is retail and bricks and mortar have their own tribulations. The design has changed a little bit to include over 200 units, and it was always going to be a lifestyle entertainment sort of center, but it's kind of changed a little bit to have more of a village feel, mixed use. They're talking about breweries. They're talking about higher end shops, and it'll be quite a thing for Rochester. I mean, not everyone gets one of these. Developers don't invest this sort of capital in places unless they're going to get a return. That's just business, and not every community is worthy of getting something like this. So it's very exciting. Also, yes, I'm moving along, Matt. I'm moving along. Okay. So this is just a list of the new businesses that we put together. Thank you to my team for putting this together. And I'd like to introduce my team. I have Jen Marsh and Carol, Glenn, and Kay over there. That's my team in economic development, and none of this is possible without them. I mean, we have a great group. And these are a combination of businesses that are both downtown, that are, some at the mall, some on the outskirts. But throughout this whole COVID thing, we've seen growth. We've seen businesses open. We've seen more businesses open than close. And so it's really a testament to what the demand is here in the city. And by increasing the density downtown and all about the city, we're already the retail hub of the county. 40% of all retail goes through Rochester. We have five large supermarkets. You don't get that without people coming in. So, that's okay. Moving forward, yes. So, I was trying to get this whole presentation to myself, but they wouldn't do that to me. Tomorrow. But so moving forward, it's important to us that we share our vision with everyone, be it staff, be it taxpayers, be it elected officials, just so that they understand what we're doing and what we think, and then getting their feedback, because I like to think I know everything. I don't know everything, and. So one of the things I know one of the top things is parking, and we do have a parking review group. We are working on downtown parking, on trying to get a strategy together, and the goal is to get that done before the Hoffman building is complete, because that will bring in 45 new units and everything that entails. We're still going to focus on the downtown. We have a couple other projects working. Continue to work with business parks and promote the TIF, the 79E, and our Opportunity Zone programs. I mean, the Hoffman Building is an Opportunity Zone program, which showed a lot of foresight that the council and staff brought that into play back when it was just, when it originally came out back in 17, 18. So we have developers that are using that, and it's the reason why they can do some of the projects. And we're going to continue to work with our partners. We have great partnerships with small business development, the SBA, the Business Enterprise, all these acronyms, this alphabet soup of acronyms, the BFA, the Stratford Regional Planning, and Stratford Economic Development. And so, things are going well. And, I feel, very blessed that I could come home and help the city, reinvent itself, redevelop itself. And I hope that you all like what's happening. but thank you. Thank you for the applause. It was a rough week last week. And I'd like to introduce the Shannon Saunders, the Director of Planning and Development.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I too am very new. I came in 2020, and I do have to say most of my meetings and meeting people for the first year of working here in Rochester was through Zoom. So I appreciate the city manager putting up that. So the first thing I want to do, and along with everyone else, is just thank all of my staff. So everything that I'm going to present to you today is certainly not done with a one-person show. We do have several planners in my office, and we coordinate regularly with all the other departments that you see today. So, next slide, Matt. Thank you. So planning and development, what do we do? So we look at planning and development across the city. We also staff many of the land use boards, so the Planning Board, the Zoning Board, Conservation Commission, Historic District Commission, the Arts and Culture Commission. I'll actually touch on each one of those. And we also, zoning came under our jurisdiction about 2 years ago as well. So that's something new, as well as staffing the ZBA that we've been doing for the last couple of years. Thank you. You're right, you can't really see the slides up here. So one of the things the fundamental things that we do in my office is master planning. And what these are visioning documents that lay out the roadmap for how to move forward in the city. During COVID, over the last couple years, we actually did two really important ones. First one being transportation. And next slide, please. And the next one being the downtown master plan. I would say if you haven't taken a look at the downtown master plan, this is fabulous. This really is feeding into what is going on downtown and kind of what those visions are that Director Scala talked about. We have two upcoming master plans. We're going to be working on our natural resources master plan and our cultural and historic resources master plan. If anyone is interested in those, we're always looking for volunteers, so please contact me. The next fundamental thing we do is zoning ordinance rewrite, and this is a list of all the zoning ordinance updates that we accomplished during the last couple of years. I don't need to go through them all. Next slide, please. I told you I was going to buzz through these, Matt. One of the more exciting ones was electronic cars and fueling stations for these vehicles, and we updated our zoning ordinance to now include this as a use in our use table, which is brand new, keeping up with technology. We do have a proposal for one of these on Route 11 that's coming forward, so very exciting. One of the first in the state. What I did here in the next few slides is go through development projects that the Planning Board has approved over the last few years, although COVID seems to have put the world at a standstill, not in Rochester. So 2020, some big projects, and I'm having trouble seeing this. I think this is the LDI project, thank you, that came in 2020. 2021, again, a number of projects. Here we're still deep in COVID here. Next slide, please. This is Route 11 really began to develop in 2021. This is one of the two banks that came in. This is Meredith Village Savings Bank. Next slide, please. And 2022 so far, this is a list of some of our major projects, and I shouldn't even say this is all the projects. This is probably a fifth of all the projects in each of these years that came through. But you can see even in 2020, we've got quite a few major projects moving forward. So. And then I'm just going to touch on the other land use boards. That was all just Planning Board. Conservation Commission, they partner with the Planning Board on a regular basis. They really look at wetlands and shoreland. We have a number of rivers that cross the city. But one of the other big things that they worked on was conservation. The Conservation Commission here and land protection is one of the best that I have seen. Next slide, please. This is the Champlin Forest project that was just recently completed this year up off of Route 108. And it was a very large protection of area that Society for Protection of New Hampshire Forests helped us out with. And this is one of several conservation projects that the Conservation Commission did. So they do have a list on their website if you're interested. Most of these are open to the public and have walking trails. And if you have any questions, definitely contact my office. The Historic District Commission. So this board focuses really on the historic district, which is downtown. But very excitingly, we got 2 grants during the COVID time period to take a look at that historic district, which hadn't been looked at in probably 20 years, to make sure it still represents our historic area. And because it's one of the more important historic districts in the state, we got the 2nd grant to really ID a lot of the historic structures in the downtown. In the next few slides, you can kind of go through. This is the district itself. But we are going to be IDing all the historic properties and putting together information packets, next slide, that are really going to take a look at the historic buildings, the architectural features of them, include photographs and document the building itself, and include historic data about the buildings for each one of these buildings downtown. So this is great. It really helps us preserve that history, preserve that culture. And as Director Scala talked about with the Hoffman building, that building, we really took the existing Hoffman building that came down, which was Art Deco in nature and design, and used that to design the new building. So we can carry that history and culture as we redevelop and redesign our downtown. And then the Arts and Culture Commission, this is also one of our land use boards. I just want to highlight the work that they've done on the murals downtown. Next slide. If you've seen the murals go up in the last few months, they're fantastic. All of the public art that has gone on between the murals and the sculptures is all captured on a digital art map. This is kind of an overview. Next slide, please. And it's interactive, so you can click on each one of those pieces of art, check out where it is, who the artist is. It's great to kind of take it around downtown as you're out having dinner or something and check out all this art that's downtown. And then lastly, I just want to touch on the city manager's parking review group. This was put together a few months ago to look at downtown parking with all the redevelopment coming in. We really wanted to make sure that we were on top of the parking issue. We don't want to be one of those cities that kind of falls behind and all of a sudden people can't find parking. So we did do an inventory. That was the first slide, kind of inventorying how much parking we have downtown, which ended up being a lot. And then as part of that, we took a look at future build out. So this is taking into account many more new units, many more square feet of retail space. And as it turns out, it looks like we do have the parking. We just need to make it more accessible. We need to sign it better. We probably are going to be making other recommendations, but this group is out there taking a look at all this data. I don't know how many people were at Porch Fest, but we were out there this weekend with the parking review group, asking people how their parking experience was when they came to Porch Fest. There's a survey online that any of you can take to give us feedback about parking, and I know we'll be presenting to the City Council pretty soon some of those parking recommendations. So with that, I just want to say thank you to all of you, the business owners. We always have openings on our land use boards in case anyone wants to volunteer. And it's my job to now turn the floor over to Public Information Manager Matt Wyatt. So thank you very much.
This microphone hurts my feelings. I'm just going to do the best I can, and I appreciate Blaine for being my assistant this morning in advancing my slides. First, before I get started, my name is Matt Wyatt, for anybody that I haven't met here today, and I am the Public Information and Community Engagement Manager for the City of Rochester. This is a new position within the last 2 years, and part of my charge is to work with the government TV channel, write and disseminate press releases for the City of Rochester and our community partners, manage our websites, manage our social media accounts, and the one that sticks out the most towards the end of the job description is other duties as assigned, which, yeah, pause for applause. I also want to thank my friend Celeste Playa in the back, who is filming for us today. Yes, please. Celeste plays a critical role in our city's government by not only filming and archiving, but broadcasting all of our public meetings and making that accessible to everyone on cable and also live streaming on our website. If you have not checked it out yet, feel free. If you go to rochesternh.gov, we are .gov now, check out all the work that she does every day to make the government more accessible to everyone in the community. I want to talk a bit, let's go ahead and advance that slide, please, Blaine. I want to talk a bit about the history of the news portal. Several years ago, under the supervision of Dan Fitzpatrick, our former city manager, and our former mayor, Caroline McCarley, they created a news portal to essentially be an aggregate for municipal press releases and community happenings. We have taken that to the next level since then. Not only are we an aggregate for those press releases, the community happenings and events, but we also share news from the governor in the state of New Hampshire, DHHS, DOT, and we also work with our local press partners, one sitting right in front of me, to disseminate some of the Rochester-centric articles that appear in publications such as Foster's Daily Democrat. Our mission essentially is to get people more involved with the municipal government and the greater Rochester community. Part of municipal government is not always, or being a part of municipal government is not always the most thrilling or attractive thing for people to do in their spare time. People work, they have families, so do we. We're your neighbors, by the way. And it's hard to get people engaged. Often we only hear from people when they're upset about something. And there will be a Q&A around 11 o'clock. We'll all be there if you have any complaints later this morning. But some of our mission here is to build things and make things more attractive for people to access. Even things like voting can be really intimidating to someone that's new to the community or has never voted before. So what do? You work with them to find what are the problems, what's keeping you from doing this, and how do we make it easier for you to come in and exercise your right, whether it's to vote or to express yourself. Let's see. Part of the other problem is, aside from a couple of reporters in the area, we have a huge lack of coverage. There's just too much going on to cover. I can think of 2 people that are covering the Rochester area, and it's just mostly 1. I like that. And it's tough. It's a really hard job, and there are so many different subjects to be versed in, and it's nearly impossible for 1 or 2 or even a few people to cover absolutely everything that's going on, as you've heard so far in this morning's presentation. And unfortunately, a lot of our news has become nationalized. So there's a real lack of focus on local communities. And with the nationalization of our news, we have some problems, political bias, all kinds of things. And the purpose of our website is to not be a newspaper or replace newspapers. In fact, we love and honor our journalists, and you can advance to the next slide to illustrate that. The problem I have with the nationalization of our news is, and especially the websites that we visit to access these, is that they're not always very accessible. And there are a lot of people that just cannot afford to subscribe to every single outlet that's out there. As you know, there are many. Some of the issues that I have with our website, with the solutions that I've employed in our website, when I'm on others, I see a lot of ads, a lot of trackers, if you notice those types of things. Clickbait, these are headlines that are designed to lure you in, and then you read the article and it has almost nothing to do with what you thought. Paywalls, which are good for some but not good for all. Poor formatting, I like good design. And especially political bias, as I mentioned before. I don't think any of us in here need to be told who to vote for or what to think. I think we can be presented with the facts in a nice way and make our own decisions. I don't know if you agree with me, but that's how I feel very strongly. Design is important. Access to websites is important for all. There are a lot of different types of readers that are accessing our websites, and we want to make sure that that's clean and user-friendly, excuse me. I'm so nervous. Easy to navigate, and of course, quality being the top priority. Before I show off our site for those that may not be familiar, I want to illustrate why good design is so important. And let's go ahead and go to the first victim. I'm not going to pick on our friends locally, but I'm looking at a few of these national websites that I visit on a regular basis, and some of the problems that I see. So this is a direct screenshot from my web browser. This is the first thing that you see on your screen when you load the Washington Post. I've done them a favor and blurred out some of the advertisement. But you can see the stories don't start until about halfway down the page, which forces you to scroll immediately through their ads. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. We have NPR here. As you can see, all these blank areas all over the place are in place of ads. My ad blocker does a pretty good job of blocking them. Some of them still slip through. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm reading some of these stories, I can't even find the content because it's so littered with advertisement. How am I, as a public information manager, supposed to get the word out to people if they can't actually see it? Let's go ahead and go to the next example, NBC News. Let's see, that's all blank because it's all advertisement. So you have to scroll down quite a ways to see who that guy is there that's been convicted of murder. Let's go to the next one, which would be USA Today. Again, same problem. I don't see anything helpful here until I scroll down. This is, again, no scrolling, no doctoring. This is the first thing you see when you load these websites. And then we'll go to the last example, which is the New York Post. Of course, you see a little pop-up there to allow notifications, which I don't know who would want to do that. The Queen didn't really get the royal treatment here, as she is being covered up by a lot of advertisement, which has been grayed out. So I want to show our website here, Blaine. This is what you see when you go to the Rochester Post, which is news.rochesternh.gov. And you can see that on the city's homepage as well, rochesternh.gov. Simple link at the top. Things are clear and easy to access. There's no searching around here at all. We'll go to the next slide, which is just to scroll down a little ways. This is the middle of our website, which shows all of our municipal information. As you can see right in the dead center there, we are sharing all of our archived public meetings as well. So this is sort of a one-stop shop for everything that we're trying to get out there, whether it be the rec department, the library, my office, the city manager's office, or a press release from the mayor. Or a public meeting, you're going to see it all right here. We'll scroll down to the bottom of our website, Blaine. As you can see, the bottom of our website looks better than the top of most of the others that we saw earlier. And you can see all the news listed in the very bottom. And when I say news, I want to specify here that we write press releases. We do not write articles. We are not inserting our opinion or our slant in this any way. We are offering quotes from our department heads, as you've met this morning, and we're just trying to present you with the facts and the community news that is submitted to us through our contact form. Blaine, we'll go to the next slide. We've also added a few little widgets in here that I think are helpful to people. You can see that we have a nice, attractive weather widget in the middle, so this is a great page to bookmark and check out every day if you're wondering what the weather's going to be like. We'll go to the next slide. We also have a podcast feed here. The city has 2 podcasts, we're very fortunate, weekly podcasts that are out all the time, and you can see a little feed here so you can access those episodes right from there. You don't have to go into your phone, you don't have to do any of that stuff if you don't want to. You can just go straight to this website and see it. We'll go to the next slide. At the top of the page, if you hover over all news, as you can see that black menu that's coming down, you can see every category of story type that we have. So if you're only interested in the downtown, or arts and culture, or business, or the elections, or maybe you just want to see public safety news, you can click any one of those links and it will load only the categories that you choose to read about. We'll go to the next slide. Here's an example of one of the articles. We have the Chamber of Commerce is going to thank their members personally on 10/20, and we'll scroll down that article, Blaine. And you can see here, no ads in the middle of that article. Let's go back one. You can see all it is some information and a picture. We'll go back again, Blaine. Yep, and there at the bottom you'll see more news like that. So if you're interested in something like the Chamber, you're going to see other types of stories that are related to what the Chamber is doing. And because it's 22, Blaine, let's go ahead. This website is completely mobile friendly. There are no issues. We've worked really hard to make sure there are no issues, whether you have an Android or an Apple device, or if you're using an older device, you're going to have the same experience on whether it's a tablet or a mobile device or whatever it might be, a Chromebook, you're going to have the same experience every time. And all the features that I've mentioned earlier are also available on the mobile website. We'll go to the next one. I want to talk a little bit about the numbers. In the past month, we're really pleased to report that we have had 9.4 thousand active users on this website. This is just in the past month. So I think that we've been very successful in getting our residents, and not only our residents and business owners and the people that live and work in Rochester, but the entire region. Obviously, this is reaching a lot further than just Rochester. So we'll go to the next slide here. From May to August, we've had 26,000 active users. These are not people sitting at their computer hitting refresh over and over again. It doesn't count. They're only loaded once. We'll go to the next slide. And then we published this, this post. And then this caused a lot of excitement, I'll say. And the word traveled fast. So if we advance to the next slide, we can see the effects of Bigfoot. 70,000, more than any other article that I've slaved away at. Bigfoot parody article seemed to get the most attention. This is just from August to September 20th. 70,000 people on a municipal website. So when I, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said in the beginning, it's very difficult to get people engaged in the municipal government. But if you work hard to make a product and have a little bit of fun once in a while, not only are they going to see an article like this, which, by the way, 80% of our traffic comes from social media. These are folks that are seeing a headline and an image and tapping it to read it. Most of those users are using a mobile device as well. Blaine, we'll go to the next slide. All of our active users since May 1st, 2022 is 95,000. That is an incredible reach for a municipal website. So I'm very proud of that, and I appreciate all the departments that contribute news items and quotes to me constantly. I'm always chasing people down, as you can probably tell today. We'll go to the next slide. In total, the impressions, this means every article that's been loaded, not just the active users, but people that have then gone to another article and another. We have had over 220,000 page loads. This is the impressions that we've made with all of the content that we've put out. So not only do I encourage our staff constantly to supply information, but also the community, your businesses. If you have a community activity or event that's coming up that involves the community, especially if it's free and accessible to all, let me know. Not only will I get a press release on our website to let the community